It's been a minute since we've recorded last for the show. I'd like to. I have an idea for a skit.
Zeus, I already started recording. Welcome to ZZ Talk's review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is usually our weekly review of the show, but April has kind of thrown a wrench in the works for us. Both Zeus and I were busy at different times and we didn't come together till now.
Yeah.
Now we're not co-workers, we're just two guys. A reference to the show, of course.
Yeah.
So unlike our previous episodes, we're not gonna do like a recap of like episode 3, 4, and 5. Instead, what we set out to do today is to look at the show as a whole that's gone and preview the finale, what we want to see from it, what we expect to see, so on and so forth. Before we dive into character analysis, Zeus, any thoughts on the show so far?
Yeah, it's inevitable, and I hate to do it, but people are going to compare it to WandaVision just because those are the only two like real MCU shows. Obviously, we know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Daredevil, all those. Right. Those are a little bit on the fringe, I guess. I'm gonna let you know right now, man. I'm loving the show. If we have to compare it to WandaVision, which I don't think we have to, but if I compare it to WandaVision, I actually can say I can't compare it to WandaVision because they're two completely different shows.
Okay.
And that's a good thing. And I think that's actually a good thing that the MCU is basically Kevin Feige is doing a good job at saying, like, look, these aren't just going to be shows that we're going to do for the hell of it, just for ratings, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, no, these shows are going to be important because the one thing that both you and I agree on, which is why we're doing the episode the way we're doing it, is because these shows, both of those shows, have had great character development. And it's been like characters driving the plot more than the action, more than the mission, more than anything else. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you right now, overall, I'm actually looking forward to this finale just because I'm really enjoying the show. I'm especially enjoying the character developments that we've had throughout the show.
Right. Yeah. And action set pieces are good. The fight choreography is good and all that stuff, but none of that matters if you don't care about who's doing the fighting, who's doing the flying around, who's doing the shooting, right? And exactly. I feel like this show has done a really good job of making us care about these characters, making us care about a character we didn't even think we would care about, which is Baron Zemo. I think is one of the standouts of the series thus far. One thing I do want to say is when we did our last review, which is episode 2, I said I thought episode 1 was better. I thought episode 2 was a little bit of a dip. Not saying I didn't like it, but I thought it was a bit of a dip. And I think since then, I think every episode has been successively better than the last. I might put episode 3 just above episode 4, but I think episode 5 is clearly the best episode of the series for me. And that's a very tough thing to do, to be on a constant upward trajectory. But that's what Falcon and the Winter Soldier has managed to do. Thanks in no small part to the introduction of whether it's the Dora Milaje at the end of episode 3, or having it be in Madripoor for episode 3 itself, where it's like a globe-trotting Mission Impossible type of episode. Really, really enjoy this show. I will go out on a limb and compare it to WandaVision. They are very different types of shows, which is a testament to Marvel being diverse in how they tell stories. But while I had a lot of praise for WandaVision in the unique way it told its story, I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier has just generally been more enjoyable for me.
Definitely.
Which is so
I
strange,
get that.
right? Because
no, it's not, because it's just the way they did the shows. I get that.
Yeah. Well, because we did our rankings, remember, of like our most anticipated MCU properties or whatever, and I'm pretty sure for me, Falcon and Winter Soldier was like 9th. I think What If was like 10th. Falcon and Winter Soldier was like near rock bottom, and yet I find it hard to believe that another show is going to come out that tops this. But then never doubt Marvel, right? So you wanna let's start with the two main guys, right? Let's give let's give it to Anthony Mackie first. Top billing. What are your thoughts on Falcon? His journey throughout this season so far. Yeah, tell me about Falcon.
I will say it's so funny that the reason for the show is obviously that he gave up the Captain America mantle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny to me because to me that's kind of like, I feel like that is just like a, all right, we're gonna go that route. We kind of knew he was gonna go that route, the whole not accept it, go for it. Kind of feel like that's just standard. Hey, this is gonna be the reason for the show. But it's really not even a necessary reason. It's just because I'm pretty sure they could have created a great show regardless of that being the reason for. But I am enjoying that it's throughout the show. It's not the whole him, oh, is he going to pick up the mantle? We knew he was going to pick up the mantle. Then the show's useless if he's not going to do that. But the story isn't really about him picking up the mantle. The story to me is more about him realizing this superhero stuff that I was doing is not as black and white as I thought it was. Because remember, he was always a black and white kind of character. Yeah, he was on the Captain America side, but his reason was because like we don't need somebody kind of being over us saving people, right?
Yeah.
And then also I go where he goes, right? So it was kind of one of those things where he didn't really have his identity. He was like, Captain America goes for it, I'm gonna go for it, right? I fight with him. Like I do things that he does just slower. And it's kind of like it's kind of, to me, it's showing he's kind of basically maturing as a person in the sense of he's learning that these superheroes thing isn't hunky-dory, wave the flag and, I'm trying to think of stereotype term, yippee, hoorah, whatever. And
Uncle
he's like,
Sam.
yo, yeah, there's a lot of dirty stuff going on. Like, the whole, I think the biggest thing for him is, what's the name of Black Captain America? The Isaiah. That's the biggest, like, punch in the gut for Sam.
Mm-hmm.
That was it wasn't even the whole, like, I come back, I don't exist for 5 years, I come back, I help save the galaxy, the galaxies, but I can't even get a freaking bank to sign off on a banknote for me. It's not even that. It's the whole, there was a guy who was used to save the country, and yet he was treated like crap. Yeah, it's, that's just a reflection of what happened in real time, right? People went to Vietnam, Korean War, World War II. They black soldiers fought for this country, came back, and they were treated like, they still couldn't even drink from a certain water fountain. So I got that. That's kind of, that is reflection of that time. But it's just for him to really gotta get that it does not matter that someone was trying to save his country or save the world. At the end of the day, unfortunately, not unfortunately that he's black, but unfortunately he will be treated as a black man in America.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is the biggest kind of like part of his story. And I'm enjoying the growth where he's realizing, you know what? Because remember, between him and Isaiah was like, no self-respecting black man would pick up the mantle. But Sam is like, no, it's not that. It's, I'm going to change the narrative. Right? Like, I'm gonna change. They can't. It ain't that they're ready for a black Captain America. It's like, yo, you're gonna have a black Captain America. Basically, get over it.
Okay. So there are a couple of things to unpack there. One, I disagree about, throughout the show that we kind of knew he was going to pick up the mantle, because had you asked me before this show started, I'd have been like, yes, he's going to become Captain America by the end of it. And obviously, if you asked me at the end of episode 5, I'd be like, yes, he's going to become Captain America at the end of it. But there were a lot of times and a lot of instances during the show's run, that I was not too sure. And it wasn't going to be some like manufactured thing that's like, oh, well, we're just going to introduce this little unbelievable plot as to why he doesn't want the shield. No, it felt like a real thing, that if he didn't take the shield, you could understand it. You'd be like, you know what? I get it. I get why you don't want the shield, right? After his talk with Isaiah in episode 5, he could have gone either way with it, and everyone would accept what Sam chose, whether he chose to be Captain America or chose not to be Captain America. I think, and I don't know whether this is what the director or the writers are going for, but you look at that conversation with Isaiah, where it's like no self-respecting black man should want that shield, right? Because to Isaiah, America represents oppression. It's like I did the very same thing Steve Rogers did, which is break out of our camp against orders to go save people. And Steve Rogers came and brought back those people. That was this is from the movie Captain America: The First Avenger. Came and brought back those people, and he was hailed and applauded.
Hero.
And Isaiah did the exact same thing, and he was thrown in jail for it. You know, until a nurse helped him fake his death. You know, so like to him is like America treats black people as a second-class citizen, and he's never had the opportunity to see a different side of America, or an America that has progressed, right? And it's such a time to be having this conversation, considering some of the things that are going on in our current discourse. But Sam luckily has seen both that ugly side of America, but he's also seen the good in America. And not to be too heavy-handed about it, but Steve Rogers is the good in America. He's the type that gets knocked down, but gets back up and says, I can do this all day. He will
As far as
jump on,
I'm concerned, that's America's ass.
right. So he's the one that will jump on a grenade to save other people and all that. So Sam is like, I feel your plight. It hurts me that there was a black super soldier that was treated like a second-class citizen, poked and prodded. But I know that ugly side of America isn't the only side of America. And then you see that juxtaposition of that scene with when Sam's nephews are like playing around with the shield when Bucky's sleeping, because to them being Captain America is cool. This is the shield. This is fighting bad guys, right? So how's Sam gonna look in that and be like, I'm not gonna take up the mantle because they were mean to black people? Because to his nephews, who look up to him a lot, being Captain America is something worthy of praise. So he's like, I will take up the mantle because, like you said, I can change the narrative. Yeah.
So quick question, and not to get too heavy. We don't want to get too heavy, right? Because it's a fun show at the end of the day. Do you feel like that's kind of like, I'm gonna assume that the MCU isn't like tone deaf and don't have black writers writing the show, right? Just considering the kind of character that they're dealing with. Do you feel like it's kind of like one of the, like, not a message, but kind of a reflection of like, hey, look, we know there's older generations that they just never see the positive of, they've never seen the positive, so we understand where they're coming from, but hey, there's also, it has changed over time, and we have opportunities or whatever, and it's still tough. Do you feel like that they kind of purposely reflected that?
Yeah, but I don't think it's like a specific, because I know a lot of people will be like, oh, MCU is trying to be woke, trying to placate to the left or whatever. People always talk like that. But I mean, the Isaiah Bradley story is pulled directly from the pages of his limited series back in 2003. I read up on it. I think it's called The Red, White, and Black. And it's like word for word what Isaiah described in the show itself. So it's not something that the writers are like, oh, Black Lives Matter is like hot on and popping right now, let's write something about that. No, it's direct from the comics. Same thing with Sam being Captain America. He's been Captain America in the comics,
that I know.
right? So I don't think that's them like virtue signaling or anything. It's pretty true to the source material, and it shows how timeless this sort of storytelling is, right? Because Isaiah's story was written in 2003, like almost 20 years ago, and it's still as relevant today. The fact that a black man feels like the role of Captain America not necessarily is like beyond his reach, but it's like, why would I want to demean myself by by bending myself to their will and to their viewpoint? And that's what the case would have been had Sam been picked like John Walker was, right? Like had he been picked by the US government, said, be our Captain America, that would have been the case because Sam would have to do what they want him to do. Whereas like Steve started doing from Civil War onwards, he realized, no, I can do good without the bureaucracy of American government, because that is where the gray comes in. The American government isn't always going to be altruistic. Sometimes they might send you on a mission that benefits the country's geopolitical aspirations, but aren't necessarily heroic things, right?
Yeah.
So Sam gets to be his own Captain America. Yeah.
So we'll just go ahead and do a ranking in regards to their development. How do you rank Sam's development throughout the show?
I would
And through the
say,
season?
I would put him third. I know who my number one and number two are. I would put him third.
Okay, I meant letters, but let's go with numbers. That's fine. We're reviewing what?
Like a letter grade of like
Yeah.
his. Well, I'd say a B.
Okay.
Yeah, especially since I think early on in the season, it was. I mean, Sam has always been kind of like a bit of comic relief. He's no Ant-Man, but he's always been a bit of lightheartedness and all that stuff. But especially episode 5, they really gave us a more serious side of Sam, and it let us believe that this guy can and should be Captain America.
All
so
right. I'd give him a B plus. I agree with you. I agree with the B. Because he's not that changed, but he's changed enough, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah,
All
exactly.
right. So now so that's the Falcon. What about the Winter Soldier?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go first. So I think he's had the best storyline in the show. They really set it up well with episode 1, with the whole nightmare sequence of like killing his friend's son, and like going through the therapy, and like the fact that it like really brings him so much grief, all the time. And I still think it's hilarious how he and Falcon decided to team up. It's just like you gave him the shield, but then it did get explained why it mattered so much to him that Sam gave away the shield. I think through other characters like Zemo and Ayo from the Dora Milaje, we get to see a side of Bucky that like the movies don't really give you the time to see, right? A side of Bucky who is dealing with the fact that he's been made to do so many terrible things, and he's doing the steps to atone, but those steps are just empty steps. And by the end of episode 5, he's gotten to a place where he's making actual progress in his life. The the final scene he had with Zemo, where like he cocked the gun, but there were like no bullets in it. Whatever. This is his growth, right? Because yeah, Bucky would normally kill Zemo, would normally kill anyone.
The Winter Soldier would kill Zemo.
The Winter Soldier would kill Soldier, not James Bucky Barnes. So yeah, this was a visual representation of his growth. But I think the most important visual representation of his growth was that scene where he and Sam are throwing around the shield, and Sam, which is another scene that really made us feel like, this guy deserves to be Captain America. Sam is like asking him about those nightmares, and this is the stuff that Bucky didn't want to tell his therapist about. And he's like, "Are you still having nightmares?" And Bucky's like, "All the time." And that's very different from the Bucky we saw at the beginning of the show. Like for him to actually be opening up about this, You know, he's found like a brother that he can like trust to tell the stuff. You know, so it's like because if this is someone that Steve thought highly of, then maybe I can think highly of him. Maybe I can trust him with my troubles. And so I really like that about his character development, that he got to a place where he could trust someone.
Well, great assessment. Bucky, to me, Bucky has always been, I would say, his only weakness where I didn't really care for him, which is funny enough, was the first Avenger. Because you just felt like, oh, he wasn't going to be an important character after he died, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't know that the storyline was going to be, or at least I didn't, because I hadn't read up on the comic books like that. It was going to be the Winter Soldier. And then obviously after that, you're really interested in his story. And then what you said actually just kind of made me even think a little bit more on his development, which was the fact that you said Steve Rogers thought highly of this guy. Mm-hmm. You know, there was only two people that you could say that like really affected his life so much when he was growing up, which is Bucky and Peggy Carter. Those two people are the ones that like affected his life and was the trajectory after he came out of the ice. So the thing that the one thing about Bucky's character development that I've always enjoyed was the fact, and I wouldn't say enjoyed, it's just that it's always been an interesting point, which is the whole him having to convince himself that he's moved on. Because if you notice, like from the beginning, he doesn't want to tell people who he is, right? Because he's automatically thinking, oh, they're going to think negative of me because they'll find out that I was the Winter Soldier. But at the same time, it's, dude, you were still there to save the world, though. You actually, like, you know what I mean? Like you got a pardon because you helped save the galaxy along with, you know, with the Avengers, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like slowly over time, he's still not, I don't know if he's really telling people like, hey, this is who I am, but he's not being ashamed anymore of who he is, which you could see when he talks to Sam's sister. It's just like, he's just being his cool self, you know. He's being that suave dude that he was
from the 40s.
When he was trying to give Steve Rogers laid, you know, he's just being the good, you know, just a suave guy. And then I guess one thing is Wakanda really made him like black chicks because he seems to be having a little jungle fever when it comes to Sam's sister.
Yeah, it would seem that way. There are a couple of things I want to talk about with Bucky that I forgot. In this last episode, I've heard different interpretations of it, of the scene where, so he comes to help Sam on the boat, and he's like, I think he's like tightening a knob or whatever, but he uses his dominant hand, not the metal arm. And it's like, why don't you use that arm? And he's like, you know, well, I'm right-handed. Yeah, like he didn't think of that, and it was because it was a funny line at the time. But I've heard different interpretations of it. Someone saying that
it means Mephisto's coming.
Oh well, yeah, definitely that. Someone talking about it being a commentary on like, you know, race in America. I can't really remember that. It was something to do with like everything. You know, I can't remember what they said. But my interpretation of it actually is very different. I think that was I think that was Bucky finally being more than just the Winter Soldier. Like I think that left arm is the Winter Soldier, using it for everything because, you know, this is where my strength lies. But then he'd gotten to a point where you just subconsciously he's using his human side and not just his,
Oh wow.
You know? So that's how I took that of, you know.
That's pretty deep. That's pretty deep because you're right. He kind of has resented that.
Yeah.
You know, he's because remember when the Black Panther, when T'Challa gets the suitcase opened up in Infinity War, he gives that look of like,
yeah,
he's like, where's the fight? Yeah, where's the fight? And he's like, it's coming to us. Like you saw that dread, and he's always had that dread towards the Winter Soldier because I mean, it it was for honestly out of all I think probably you could actually argue that Bucky is the most tragic character out of all of them because he was forced to do something he never wanted to do.
Yeah.
Where everybody else pretty much had some type of control over, even if some of the stuff that they did was tragic, their response. Yeah. He couldn't respond the way he would want to respond. He had no choice in the response because he had to do what he was, programmed to do. So that's actually a really I like that. Yeah, that he was like finally accepted because I kind of had a little bit of a chill when I saw that, but I didn't really kind of place that what that chill was. You know what I mean? Yeah. That actually is a very good point. So yeah, that's actually a pretty awesome point. So with that being said, I would actually grade his development an A. Then.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think Bucky is probably the most fleshed out character in the show. Even though we do have another one to talk about, but I'll give him an A. There is one. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I do hope. I'm assuming they're gonna go to the Asian grandfather though, or the Asian father.
Oh yeah, I mean they got to close out.
I know, but do you feel like that was? I kind of don't feel like because you kind of don't think about it. The last 4 episodes between 1 and 6 is it's kind of one of those I just feel like I get it. It's a bookend, but I just don't feel like it was necessary. But
no. I think it's very necessary. I mean, that was one of the big gut punches of the first episode. Not just knowing that Bucky struggles with this, but the fact that I think the reason why he's friends with that guy is because I think he's been trying to atone for a while. I don't think just from their conversation, it sounded like they've been friends for a bit, at least a month, which means it's probably a month of him trying to talk to this guy and tell him he killed his son, and he just can't bring himself to it. Yeah, so I thought it was necessary, and
I think what it is, it's also given a visual to his acceptance, right? It's given a visual because now he's going to be able to do. I get it. I just, I wouldn't say cliche. It seems cliche, but it seems like you've kind of see the similar situations like that for other storylines, which makes sense. I mean, you still gotta,
Yeah, we know he's going to. Well, at least I really hope he's going to tell him, which I know is going to be like a really sad scene, but because Sam asked, I'm sure the people. It said, I'm sure there are people in that book that you need to apologize to. So I can't remember how he phrased it, and then he said, "Yeah, more than a few," and Sam was like, "We'll just start with one," and I mean that one would probably be Yuri. The Asian dude. I want to go to John Walker next. But before we do, I saw an article, I saw a headline. Why is Bucky so much? Why is Bucky weaker than John Walker? And I didn't click in there to read it, but I have my theories about that. I think it's possible that Bucky is weaker because we're saying he's weaker because John Walker was fighting both he and Sam together. It was like a 2v1, and Walker was like on par with them, right? And you would think the Winter Soldier, when you think of like the movie Captain America: The Winter Soldier, him against Cap, he had Cap against the ropes, right? So why is that Winter Soldier not as strong as John Walker? And I think part of it is that Winter Soldier was without inhibition. That Winter Soldier was fighting to kill. And Bucky isn't fighting to kill. He's fighting to subdue. I don't think he was trying to kill John Walker during the fight, but he's fighting to subdue. Whereas John Walker, every time, episode 4 ended with him bludgeoning that guy with a shield. Every time in that fight, there was at least 3 times I could count where he tried to bludgeon someone with that shield. He tried to do it to Sam once, and I know he tried to do it to Bucky at least twice. And like the inhibition switch is like off for John Walker. It's just like, you know what, the mission, like this is the mission. I gotta take you out to do it. And I think that's why Bucky is weaker than him, because he's fighting reserved, or restrained, if you will. So sorry, I just went on a tangent.
good. That's a good point. So I guess that leads into me talking about John Walker.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I got more upset when John Walker became a super soldier
Mhm.
than I did when he became Captain America.
Okay.
And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of it's a cheap heat. And what I mean by that is, remember when he was introduced in episode 2, like really introduced in episode 2, right? We talked about how, okay, he's not a bad dude. You know, he's over there swinging his shield. And then episode 3, I actually kind of liked him. I actually really did like him because episode 3 was, he was trying to get the thing. Captain America, Falcon and Winter Soldier were just one step ahead of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you saw the doubt that was creeping in, which I was like, okay, that's fine, because he also knows that I'm like, yo, these dudes, or at least Bucky is a super soldier, and then Sam, he fought against Thanos, so it's just kind of one of like, these guys are like, I'm not up to par with them yet,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't know, just for some reason when he started becoming, I feel like it went really fast from episode 3 to episode 4, where he became unhinged.
Yeah.
Do you get that? Do you feel like it's just episode 3 to episode 4 just seems like, I wouldn't say a complete 180, but
yeah,
it was a huge degrees of difference from who he was in one episode to the other.
I do think it was a little quick. Though I didn't think it was too quick to the point where I was like, this is unbelievable. Because so we're introduced to John Walker like very well in episode 2. Mm-hmm. And he's there and he's doubting himself whether like, do I like belong out there or whatever. And Battlestar Lamar comes and like tells him that you're John Walker, man, you 3 medals of honor, yada yada, like basically letting him know that, hey, you do belong. And every time John puts on that mask, that doubt fades away, right? I mean, he said it so many times where he's talking about like, I'm Captain America, right? Like when he was interrogating that guy in Germany, it's like, do you know who I am? Like he's really leaning into that, I'm Captain America thing. Yeah. And it was like a real, gut punch for him when the guy was like, yeah, I know, and I don't care. Like, yeah, I know you're Captain America, I don't care. Even when he goes to the police station in episode 2 to bail out Sam and Bucky, he's like coming like, hey, look, I'm bailing you out on orders of Captain America. Do whatever you got to do. Like, so when he was wearing the suit and he had the shield, it gave him this heightened sense of purpose. So to be in that, and yet Bucky and Sam are treating you as an extra, like we don't have to tell you anything, right?
You're not top billing in our show, is what they're saying.
Right. Or when Sam is going in there to talk to Karli, and John is basically sidelined. He's like pacing back and forth. He's like, I'm Captain America. I should be in there. I should be finishing this mission. That was basically what was going on. And then he goes and storms in and like messes up the whole mission.
Messes the whole thing up.
Yeah. So the entire time, it's like they just kept trying his life. Like, I'm supposed to be Captain America, but why am I being treated like a second-class citizen? And then, obviously he steals the vial. The turning point was when he got his ass whooped by the Dora Milaje. The lion. I mean, he when they came in, he was like, hi, Captain America, right? Like it wasn't, hey, I'm Sam, hey, I'm Buck. His whole identity is around that, right? Yeah. I'm supposed to be this beacon, and then he gets his ass whooped by the Dora Milaje. And the line he says is, they weren't even super soldiers. And it was at that point that he was like, you know what? I gotta do something to gain some respect around here. I gotta bulk up, and it was a super soldier serum that did that. But it makes you more of who you are, and who he was someone that was struggling with its self-worth, the self-identity, and it led to him acting out in the way he did. And obviously there's probably the PTSD angle as well, because he was in the field, and he said that they did some things that aren't exactly heroic to get those medals of honor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, the short of it is, while I do think they could have added more in there to give us that transition from where we first saw him to him becoming unhinged, I don't think it was completely out of left field.
I don't think it was out of left field either, but I definitely feel like to me it was more of a pacing issue. You knew it was going there, but it was more of a pacing issue on that end, and it's just it. And also, I think they knew they had to make him go that way because you have to hate him. You're supposed to hate him. You're not supposed to like him. And I think the problem was they did a really good job on episode 2 and 3 for you to be like, oh, this guy's not that bad. Okay, if like you said, if at the end of the story, Falcon stays Falcon and this guy stays Captain America, I was like, all right, so there's that story. So that'll maybe be another story they explore in the movies or whatever. So with that being said, as far as John Walker's character, I feel like I hope they're not setting him up to be a villain in the last episode. Like one of the biggest, you know what I mean? Just from like,
I get more of like an anti-hero vibe from him. Like not, I don't think he's like gonna be outright terroristic, but I think his big thing is it's an ego thing for him, right? And not an ego thing in the way that we're used to seeing, right? Not like Tony Stark having this big ego and all. It's more of star quarterback, like he's always been at the top of everything.
But basically, he's a star quarterback. He gets drafted, and all of a sudden, he's a third stringer.
Right. In this realm, he's nothing, right?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be like his, MO, like wanting to be seen as worthy. Yeah. Especially when he's like at that hearing, Senate hearing, he's like, I am Captain America. Even up to that point, he was still like adamant about it because that's his identity.
Well, he also said though, you guys made me.
Yeah.
And then basically they're spitting him out. So okay. So yeah, I hope it's an anti-hero kind of, he becomes less red, white, and blue and more, more willing to bend the, you know what I mean? Like willing to bend rules to get the thing. Because I'm assuming with what's her name? Julia
Louis-Dreyfus. Yeah.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, because she's supposed to be a character. They say that her character was originally supposed to be introduced in Black Widow, but of course that got pushed back. So she was part of. I'm assuming she's part of the same the Black Widow program or whatever. So it's possible he'll be in the movies later on, or maybe another show or whatnot. So we'll see. I just hope it's not like the last episode is he's the one of the big foils the plans to save the world and all that stuff.
Well, I've heard that she's like part of Hydra, but I think Hydra in the MCU is pretty much done, at least we thought. So maybe she is that. No, I don't think. I think the main antagonists are the Flag Smashers, which we're about to go into next. I
said you would hope, yeah.
Yeah. I think John is going to run some interference just because of who he is. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah,
I don't think he's like the ultimate antagonist. What did you think about him lying to Lamar's parents? That, by the way, Lamar just got like fridged for the purpose of advancing John's character.
Well, yeah, he was. What do they call it? There's a certain. Is that what it is? Fringed.
Fridged. So because it's a term from, I think it was the Green Lantern comics, where a bad guy killed Hal Jordan's girlfriend, and he opened the fridge and like found her stuffed in there.
I didn't know that was where it came from.
Gruesome, yeah. So, but it's a term used to describe like using female characters to advance a male character,
and it's typically a white male's character too.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of Lamar getting killed off like that. I just wasn't. I just like but I'm glad to finally see and kind of like a little like us seeing a little bit of that dark side. Like, You telling me nobody died during Endgame except for Tony? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
no superhero got killed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
people
so
died.
it's
A lot of those
yeah.
Wakandan soldiers died. Yeah, for
Yeah, a
sure.
lot of Wakandans and then a lot of the twirly thing guys, but none
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
main ones, right? None of the main ones, and then kind
exactly.
of and you didn't get to see it, but in this case, you did get to see this guy die. His death was shocking,
Mhm.
but you kind of felt like it was like, all right,
It was
it was too advanced.
it was shocking and abrupt too. Like
Yeah,
it was a kick, and then I was like, okay, dude's gonna get up, right? And like, no, I was like, oh wow, okay.
but that did prove, like he said, those guys aren't Winter Soldiers, but I mean, not those guys aren't super soldiers, but at the same time, they're also not super soldiers, right? So it's
Who are?
easier for them to be killed. Lamar
Oh, I see.
and
Yes.
up until that point, a Walker too, but you know he
Yeah.
had already had taken the super serum, but they were just regular, really good at fighting guys,
Yeah.
but they weren't superheroes. They weren't they
Yeah.
you know they
They
didn't
didn't
have
belong.
superpowers. So
I mean, honestly though, at least Sam had like a backpack with wings. They didn't give Lamar anything. Of course he's gonna die. You gave him
he
a
had a cool
grappling
suit
hook.
and a cool name.
I think he had a grappling hook. And no, he did not have a cool name. Um, so, all right, grade John Walker's character developments.
I'm gonna I'm gonna grade the I'm gonna grade the pacing as a C,
Okay.
but I'm actually gonna grade his development as a B plus.
Mm-hmm.
B just because, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the pacing, but I do. You knew that was gonna happen, and they still did a decent job at having it done.
Yeah, I'd say B plus. Oh yeah, the question I was gonna ask you is, what did you think about him lying to Lamar's parents?
Oh yeah, I actually thought it was an honorable thing for him to do that. I
Yeah,
really do. He's
yeah.
like, I'm not gonna tell them something that's
That
gonna just
his killer is
yeah.
still out there, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna give these people some peace, at least a little bit. And then
yeah,
also, you know that he's out there, he's going to I think his thing is that he's going to try to avenge that
yeah.
death.
Well,
So
there's a school of thought that he did that to save face, you know, that he didn't just kill some random person. But I think it's more so what you're saying, that he there's no point making the parents feel like, you know, my son died and his killer is still out there. Because one, that hurts them, but two, John Walker is also kind of like a son to them, apparently. Like
yeah,
they're
yeah,
like really close. So it's like my son died and our honorary son murdered someone
yeah.
that didn't even kill him. And by the way, uh, before we get into Flag Smashers, the guy that John Walker killed, let's be honest about it, he is a terrorist. Yeah, in the definition of, you know, of the word and what they did to the GRC, they are terrorists. The problem wasn't that John Walker killed him; it's how he killed him. The guy had surrendered. You know, the guy was like, "It wasn't me" or whatever. Everyone's recorded, and then you bludgeon him in cold blood. That's the problem. Like Julia Louis-Dreyfus said, they don't. It's not that you killed the guy. It's just it's like the optics of it. So yeah, people want to say that, oh, John Walker is like evil for killing that guy. No,
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 I mean, I don't think he's evil for killing him, but also I don't think he's justified for killing him because he's a terrorist.
yeah,
But I get why, because if not, it could have easily been the other way around where that guy would have tried to kill him. Doesn't seem like that particular guy would try
yeah,
to kill anybody, but if he was put in the situation to kill him, and he did,
yeah.
it would be part of the course, you know.
If the guy had a chance to kill John Walker, he would, right?
No, no, no. Well, if he was put in the situation to come, but it didn't. That particular guy did not seem like he would be the kind to want to. Because remember, he was also still kind of shocked that she wanted to go certain route.
That's a different guy. That was the Asian guy
Is
that
that
was shocked by that. But this guy was the one that said he was a Captain America fan growing up.
okay?
Yeah.
No, so
No,
you got killed by your favorite
but
guy.
yeah, by your shields, the shield that you love. No, like he had like said, no, wait, no, it's not me. Like he had surrendered. Like as far as like the rules of engagement in war, it's kind of a war crime, isn't it? Like if someone's
Yeah.
waving the white flag and you still kill them, so that was a problem there. But you know, it's not like, and I like that. I like that it wasn't just like, okay, John Walker is evil now and he's just going to go around killing people. They they did it in a way that you understood what happened, but you also understand that it's wrong. So okay, flag smashes. Karli, what do you think about Karli? Oh, do you want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
Okay.
On that one.
I was hopeful about her character early on. There's a lot that the flag smashers espouse that you're like, yeah, I kind of understand where they're coming from. Like, the whole no borders thing, and the fact that they're basically being displaced because of, I guess, because of the blip or something. I'm not exactly 100% on what the cause
Yeah,
is.
I'm not. I don't appreciate them not really going into detail as to what it is that they're fighting for and what. I get it, open borders.
Well, no, we know they're fighting to stay in their lands, because the vote that the UN or whatever it was going to take at the end of episode 5 was about how to deal with these refugees, right? Because they're all basically displaced refugees now that people have come back from the blip. And the vote was about how to deal with that. And the flag smashers are like, we shouldn't have to be shipped off to certain places or whatever. Like we belong here, right? It's like trying to deport people. It's like the immigration, argument, right? It's like, no, we don't want to get deported. So that's what they're fighting for. I just don't understand how the reversal of the blip made it so that you have to kick them out. But
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just you get the reason why they're fighting, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, what did them being gone allow you guys to do, and them coming back is causing you not to be able to do? Like, that's just a little. It would make sense. Okay, if me and you, if I were to be blipped, and then somebody moves into my house, and then when I come back, I'm like, I still own this house, so that's one thing.
It's a space thing, I guess.
But a whole country of people, like, that's just kind of weird. So I don't think they did a great job at explaining
like what
that part of the conflict. Yeah, that part of the conflict.
So anyway, there were parts where I felt like, okay, I see where she's coming from, especially when she's talking to Sam and all that stuff. But I don't know. Like the actions that she took there are just like really unforgivable. Like the blowing up the GRC with people still in it and being like, that's the only language they understand. She killed Lamar. Just in general, like I get that she feels like they've been violent towards us, so we have to be violent. But at the end of the day, I don't really have any sympathy for her. I like being able to feel sympathy for the villain's plight. Like I felt more sympathy for Thanos than I do this chick. And Thanos killed billions of life forms. So yeah, I don't know, man. I was hoping for better for her character, but as the show's progressed, I'm just kind of like, I don't really care about Karli too much. Like I thought she could have been done better, but I don't really care for her.
I think the problem is we didn't get enough of her backstory. We're not getting enough of her backstory. We're not getting enough of why is she getting to that point. Okay, if that's the only language they speak, you kind of need something to see as to why she's saying that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that her family members, some of her family members were killed similarly.
Exactly.
Exactly.
If the GRC had some indirect connection to someone in a family getting blown up or something, then that makes sense.
A good example is WandaVision, the episode where she goes, she's in her back when she was a kid. It made Avengers: Age of Ultron make a lot more sense to me in regards to why she hated Tony Stark so much.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, you kind of saw it, and that was a few years later. And then with this case, this character is not going to get the luxury of this getting, us finding out the sympathy, why to feel sympathy for her, a decade later, because that character is not going to be around like that, So it's the lack of the backstory, I think, and then it's just kind of like, okay, we get the motivation, we get the motivation as to what you're fighting for, but yeah, like you said, your tactics is like, okay, why are you becoming a terrorist? Because that is terror. That's a terrorist for sure.
Yes, for sure.
You're being a terrorist there. Like, and even and you kind of see the I guess they kind of put the do you know the name of the Asian character? I forget
I
his
don't
name.
remember his name. No.
But you kind of see that with him because he's kind of questioning it the whole time. It's like, why are you doing that? And then like, all right, but you can kind of see in his face like, I still don't agree with that,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like maybe it's the serum that's talking, maybe it's the serum that's causing her to get this way,
Mm,
but
that's true. And you know what? I think they may have hinted at that, and maybe I just missed it or whatever. But yeah, okay, that makes a lot more sense that the serum is making her do these things that are it's like asymmetric warfare.
vengeful.
Yeah, it's asymmetric warfare, right? It's like someone punches you one time, so you shoot them with an assault rifle, right? It's like it's not equal at all.
That
But maybe
escalated quickly.
it's the yeah, exactly. So maybe it's the serum that's making her do this. But then I feel like if that's the case, they could have driven that home a little harder. That she like prior to the serum, she wouldn't have done something like this. But now that
Yeah,
she has the serum, she's like straight up
that's what I'm
doing.
saying. Like, so that lack of the backstory and us seeing her cry when when one of her dudes gets killed to let them get away in episode 2, I believe it was.
Yeah,
That's not enough. It's really
yeah,
not enough. We haven't gotten enough of her because, like you said, the actress is wonderful, and the character had a. I would say that this one had a lot of. She had a lot of potential,
yes,
which is ironic if you think about it, because one of the biggest things that the MCU has improved on over the years is villainary villain, is that a word? It is now. Villainary development. Like
hmm
the development of villains. Because remember, like at the very end of the, like I think it was the third phase is where you really started to kind of like the
yeah.
villains were a little bit better fleshed out. Kate Blanchett
I mean,
and Thor Ragnarok.
outside of Loki, the villains are pretty one notes in
Yeah,
like the first couple of phases. You know,
like
so
I'm trying to remember who the hell the villain was in Thor Dark World.
Darkworld, Malekith.
Exactly.
Uh,
So it's like it's just like you really didn't care too much about it. You didn't
yes,
care enough about it, and so it's just it's just the lack of development for the character. I get it. We were supposed to feel a little sympathetic for her, but you kind of don't. You feel more
yeah,
sympathetic towards Walker than you do her,
yeah, for sure.
and maybe even
Um,
Zemo.
I think definitely Zemo. I think they did a disservice to the character, and you know what? This is a good place to transition to Zemo. But
But real quickly,
before we do
so
that,
C,
it,
I would say C maybe.
see, I'll be even harsher. I'm gonna say
Wow,
D. I'm gonna say D.
dang.
Yeah, no, because I
These
did.
gets degrees though.
Yeah, I had high hopes for her, and with Zemo, even though Zemo was introduced in a movie as
You
opposed
had
to a
no hopes
TV
for him.
series, huh?
I had no hopes for Zemo.
Well, yeah, but I mean, as far as like motives for why he did what he did, we understood
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah.
Because his family died in the Battle of Sokovia in the Age of Ultron, right? And we saw it. We saw the damage, the carnage, but we saw it from the Avengers' point of view, where they're trying to save people, but people still
Mhm.
died, right? So we can understand where Zemo was coming from, and I feel like because that was kind of glossed over with Karli, it's hard to feel for Karli, right? But anyway, so Baron Zemo, I think I started with Karli, so you take it away.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't. I was like, when they were bringing him back, I was like, oh, that's cool. But
Mm.
I felt for me, the character arc in the Winter, I mean,
Civil War.
Civil War was enough for me. I was like, I didn't really need to see too much of him. Not that I hated the character because I did want to see the face mask, the
Yeah.
mask that he wore, which has always been cool. But as far as his development goes, there's certain parts of it that I felt forced. Like
Mm.
him being rich as hell is just very convenient.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost not even like a development. It's like a completely new. It's an attachment. Like,
Yeah, it's just so it's like I was like, okay, but I mean, it does kind of make the fact that he was able to, get a face mask that was the equivalent of the Winter Soldier. That's probably not cheap to get.
mm,
Him being able to do a power grid of the, get a bomb, have a bomb big enough to destroy a power grid that would destroy the super max facility of the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably takes some money. So that makes sense in the end, right? Like, because you
Yeah.
didn't really think about that in Civil War of like, how's he financing all this stuff? You know, he was able to
Right.
fly to run and get a tank. You know,
Yeah.
it was funny because I saw I saw Civil War like after like episode 4, just because I popped it in. I was like, you know, I told my wife, I was like, it makes sense why he can get a tank now. You know, not that you were thinking about it before, but it makes sense that he could get a tank. But anyways, that kind of felt a little bit forced. I kind of get it. What I really like about his character is they're not making you feel, they're not forcing sympathy on him.
Mm-hmm.
They're not forcing you to feel sympathy for him. They're not forcing you to for you to understand him.
Yeah.
It's just basically, this is who he is and this is who you're getting.
Yeah.
So I actually really like that. I really like that they're not forcing anything. They're not forcing you to like Zemo. They're just presenting Zemo as he is, and just, oh, by the way, he just happened to be a rich baron at one point.
This is a very good point about not forcing you to like him or whatever. He's human Loki, right? Like he's like I think it's become like a running gag how he seems to just slip away. Like when the Dora Milaje were fighting Bucky and John Walker and Falcon. And then he just like slips, he slips out of the door, right? Just disappears. Yeah, as far as the character development goes, you know, that really wasn't the point of Zemo, right? It wasn't like supposed to be some deep analysis of his character. Zemo was there to bring to be fun, and he definitely was, right? They made no bones about is this guy a good guy, is he a bad guy? No, he's a bad guy, but because he's a bad guy, you know, I love that line in episode 3 where it's like, yeah, people like us, we find a way, you know, where she was like, how did he get out of jail, right? You know, people like us, we find a way. It's like all of Batman's rogues, right? Batman will defeat them, he'll put them in Arkham Asylum, and then somehow they get out to do something bad again, right? In a future episode. So yeah, people like us, we find a way. And it was just cool how like he always had like a philosophical line for everything, right? One of my favorite lines is when they're in Madripoor, and you know everyone has their outfit. Bucky just goes as the Winter Soldier, right? But Sam goes as Black Tiger or something Tiger.
Black Tiger, yeah, something Tiger.
Something, yeah. Smiling Tiger. And Sam was like, I'm dressed like a pimp. And then Zemo said only an American would think a fashion-forward black man looks like a pimp. You know, like what a poignant phrase, right? But that's so Zemo, right? He's just there to drop knowledge, just to make you think. Yeah, I love Falcon's line about, yeah, I don't like him, but he makes a good point. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what Zemo brought to the show. So much fun. I'm glad they brought in the character. Yeah. So I'm not even gonna rate like a character development thing. Just, is he a fun character?
His character really didn't develop, because I like that they're not trying to go deep into his whole losing his family, because he's like, you already saw that.
Yeah,
like, that was my whole motif.
Yeah, him losing his family was the plot of Civil War. So yeah, that's
they're not even touching that. It was like, it's still there, but
now it's like, hey, Zemo can actually be a pretty fun character, so we're gonna write him that way. And I loved it. I give his character an A, not for character development purposes, but just for being a really fun addition to the show.
I'd give his character a B plus if it wasn't for that dance. So he gets an A because he did that little dance.
You saw that Marvel released a 1 hour.
Yeah, I saw they released. They released it. I haven't seen it. Is it funny?
No, it's basically just it's the same dance.
It's the dance. Okay.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, their marketing department is like top notch. They're like, hey, people are talking about this dance, so let's just release an hour of it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Who have we not talked about yet? Oh, okay. Honorary mention, Sharon
Carter.
So, you know all the theories that she's the power broker, right? Have you heard that? Have you been
I've heard that theory. I don't want to dive into that theory because the last time someone gave me a theory, I still looking for Mephisto.
But there's only one episode left, and this is our finale preview.
So this is probably the one that we're gonna find out because they also, she's kind of talking like a, like a badass to somebody, right? Although I was under the impression that the person she's talking to in that episode is the power broker.
No, I was under the no. In that last episode, the person she was talking to was Batroc. She was she's talking to Batroc, and then Batroc goes and meets with Karli. So I want to say that she is the power broker, just because who else could it be? But or it could be a red herring, and they never actually show us who the power broker is, at least not during this series.
Well, you remember to compare to WandaVision, remember I Have a Friend, Monica, and then it literally was just a friend. It was nobody. It wasn't Mr. Reed as people thought it was going to be, or
Dr. Reed, Mr. Fantastic.
Dr. Reed, Mr. Fantastic. It was just a friend. I mean,
sorry, Dr. Richards, Reed Richards.
Richards. Yeah, so I mean, so it might be, it might not be. I don't really want to dive into that. What I do want to dive into is I really found, I love how they're unraveling the mystique of these superhero movies. What I mean by that is, remember she said, yeah, you and Steve came out fine, but I didn't. So she became an outlaw because she helped them, but she was like, not everybody else got a part. Not everybody got a pardon.
When we get the credits, when we get the credits rolling for all these movies, we forget about the collateral damage.
Yeah, and she ended up being the collateral damage, and it's kind of like one of these things where, like, if she is the power broker, it's a little bit of their faults because you forced her to go do these things because you made her an outlaw, and all she did was provide Captain America with his suits.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, I really enjoyed that part. I really enjoyed, but then I think, isn't there a point where she kind of like just tells them like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to be forgiven at this moment or something like that. It's kind of like,
she said, "Give me my pardon." She
give me my pardon.
Give me my pardon. Yeah,
but I kind of sense like she was like, I doubt you're gonna.
Yeah. Oh no, she's definitely very jaded. Like everything that's happened since we last saw her in Civil War, I mean, she's been really jaded by all of it, by Madripoor.
By the way, I had no idea that, I really didn't have any idea that her character was going to be in the show. So her character being in that episode was actually pretty, like, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy her being in extra part.
I loved episode 3. It was so great. It felt like a 007 movie, or one of those kind of things. I'm leaning towards she's not the power broker just because, well, a couple of reasons. One, why would she send Batroc to help Karli? Isn't the power broker trying to capture Karli or something?
Something like that.
Something to do with the serums. And two, I don't think this is a limited series, not like WandaVision. And so the power broker could be set up to show up at a later time. Why would you save it to the very end of the series to be like, hey, it's me, the power broker? So I think it's very possible that the identity of the power broker could be revealed at the end of the season to set up for a future season. And I don't think it's Sharon. Because I don't know. I feel like if it was, it should have been addressed by now.
So you wouldn't be like, everything happens, the big battle happens, and then do you remember Sherlock Holmes, the very first one with Robert Downey Jr.? You remember at the end, you didn't see what was Moriarty? The main Moriarty. You didn't see him. You didn't get the reveal. Didn't happen. That basically there was a tease at the end. And they showed who Moriarty is. They at least gave you the idea that this guy's gonna come back. This bad guy is going to be back. You know what I mean? Like, because at the very end of the episode, they have him in I think it's the wagon or something like that. So anyways, it's kind of like leaves you a tease, but you don't know when that's going to happen. You don't know when the next movie is going to happen. It's going to be the same way, where it's like, they're going to show that, hey, the power broker, they might not even reveal him, but they'll give you a clue,
Yeah.
like it's his hand or something like that, or
I feel like they have to reveal that it's not Sharon at the very least,
yeah,
because
that's what I mean. And then it's kind of like, nah, it's me, I'm the power broker, and then
because they must know that everyone is theorizing that Sharon. You know, obviously it was made well before they released it, right? So they're not knowing it from people's social media posts, but having written the show and probably watched it before releasing it, they're probably watching it and be like, I bet people are gonna think Sharon's a power broker. Maybe we should
I wouldn't
maybe
be
we should
shocked.
address
I
that.
mean, they probably I'm sure they wrote it to make it seem like she was the power broker,
Right.
just because the thing is, it's always about theories. It's like one of the fun things. Although some people, real quick note, some people need to stop taking personal offense when their theories
The
don't
theories are
come out.
wrong, right? Yeah.
Jesus, like it's not like they're not out there to mess with you.
Yeah.
Comic Boy 22, 23 or something like that, you know,
Some
on
people are
message
like,
boards.
Marvel doesn't respect the fans, or you know,
Or maybe you don't respect the writing.
they're walking on thin ice, throwing these red herrings. Like, calm down, bro. Like,
Yeah, chill out.
like you'll be
Jesus
fine.
Christ. Get out of your
Um,
mom's basement. But yeah, so as far as the power broker, I'm not even going to speculate on that because honestly, my theories have been wrong. Anyways, what I will say is, as far as her character is concerned, I like that they kind of made her. It's funny, right? They made the Flag Smasher a little bit like, you're not really developing her that way, but with enough of her background, Sharon Carter's background,
Carter.
right?
Mm-hmm.
To be like, oh, I know who you were versus who you are now, but you're not given as much information as to why are you the way you are now, aside from the fact that you became an outlaw because you helped Captain America, but you don't know what happened throughout that process. Now we just know that, hey, you're a badass, freaking you are a power.
Oh yeah. She was like
person.
whooping all those bounty hunters when they were coming after.
Well, not even that. I'm just saying, like, she got money because she's the one that has all those
the art,
the real art,
arts. Yeah.
So
We never found out who, because remember after the whole scene at the shipping crates, she ends up getting in some car, like driving away. We didn't find out who that black lady was. So they have to address that. Why does she have Batrock's number? Why has Batrock done 2 missions for her now? Apparently, because apparently she was the one who called him to do that first one in the very first episode. So like why, right? So yeah. I'm hoping we find out, or maybe it is to set up a future season. I don't know. We'll see. I'm really looking forward to how this whole thing wraps up. You want to give Sharon a character development score or a character score?
I'll give her character I'll give her A minus.
Okay. I was thinking more B minus.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let me change it. I'll say B. Only reason I'll say B is she's there, but she's not like a big central character. So I'll just give her I'll give her a B minus. I feel like she has purpose, but she's not,
yeah, your main three are, Sam, Bucky, and John. And then everyone else is kind of like periphery. Zemo is periphery for sure, but I really enjoyed him being there. I really enjoyed that they brought the Dora Milaje back to be like real badasses for an episode. That was great. Okay, so we've gone through all those characters. Let's wrap it up. Do you have any predictions for the final episodes? Things you'd want to see?
Obviously, I want to see that he does apologize to Yuri. Yuri?
I think it's Yuri. Yeah.
Yuri something. Find out obviously who the power broker is, or at least, like you said, let's make sure to find out if Sharon is not the power broker, right?
Exactly. Yeah. If it's not her, let us know.
And then the real thing is with the Flag Smashers is if there is going to be a conclusion, I just hope it is a satisfactory conclusion and not one of those things where like you're building up to the final battle and then the final battle is like 10 minutes long at the very end of the episode and then it's over. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'll say about the final episode. If it's the only season, which I'm of the opinion that what they're doing is they're going with the idea that it is limited series, and then later on figure out, because the same thing with WandaVision. They did it as a limited series. They thought about it, but then they decided to send it over. Even though I really do think next year they're going to announce the new show Vision Wanda. But it's just I feel like they're doing that with these shows. It's kind of like the same thing they do with movies.
Yeah.
Is that like we're gonna release this now with there's a possibility of sequels, but right now it's just we're gonna concentrate on this one.
Yeah.
So I hope they at least, if they have no idea if they're gonna come back to a show, to wrap it up.
Yeah.
In a satisfactory manner, at least with the Flag Smashers.
Yeah.
With the Walker character, I can still see us to him coming later on in the series. I wouldn't mind him being in other products.
Yeah, and I'm fairly certain he's gonna stick around.
Yeah, I kind of got that idea with that last episode.
With like Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I have there's no way you introduce a character. I mean, like, because Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a well-known actress. She's not like just they didn't just get some older lady to have that conversation, and you don't know whether she's significant or not. They wouldn't hire Julia Louis-Dreyfus unless it was a significant character. So she will play a role in the MCU in some other. Well, actually, you said she's going to be in Black Widow, right?
She's supposed to be in Black Widow, yeah.
So she's going to be in other properties, plural.
Which comes after Black Widow, because remember, Florence something is set up to be the next Black Widow. And then also you got
Florence Pugh,
she's set up to be the next Black Widow. And then you have other characters from the Arrow show. That person's supposed to be more Young Avengers. Yeah. So it's just,
so I feel like there is a lane for John Walker to move into for future content, and I'm cool with that. I think Wyatt Russell has done a good job this season of like really making us hate that character, but also making us understand the nuance of that character. Okay, so what do I want to see for the finale? Basically all you said. I want some resolution on, is Sharon the power broker? I'm not expecting the finale to be better than episode 5. I think episode 5 was its peak. Had we been able to do our weekly reviews like normal, I would have given episode 5 a 10 out of 10, legit. I really loved that episode. And the fact is, it was actually very light on action. Like, there was action at the very beginning, and then everything else was like an info dump, right? But that dude who plays Isaiah Bradley should get an Emmy nomination for guest actor.
Guest actor.
I mean, God, that was deep. That was really good. I think Sebastian Stan should get an Emmy nomination for supporting actor. I guess
he would be best. They could both be nominated for best. Yeah, they could both be nominated for lead actors.
Yeah. See, I never know, right? Because in Modern Family, they nominated all 4 male members for supporting actor. And then there was another show that I saw like True Detective. They nominated Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson for lead actor, right? So you can nominate 2 people.
Which is funny. I would
same show.
I could agree. I could agree with that. Even though if they had to choose between one being lead, one being support, I would say lead would be Matthew McConaughey, and Woody Harrelson would be. But and that could kind of be the same way, because you kind of feel like it's the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But I kind of feel like the pendulum leans a little bit more towards the Falcon than it does the Winter Soldier in regards to.
Well, it's about Falcon becoming Captain America, right?
Exactly.
So that's why.
But they could both be nominated for
lead actor. I think Anthony Mackie has done a good job, so it's nothing against him. But I really do think.
No, you're right. But
Sebastian
Stan has done a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
he has done the same job as Vision did in WandaVision.
Yes.
Paul Bettany was really good. Did Paul Bettany get nominated? He didn't, did he?
Oh, well, they haven't released any nominations. It's just right now it's the studios and all that stuff submitting those 4-year consideration.
Oh yeah, right, because they submitted WandaVision as
for
best
limited series.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that. Sebastian Stan, guest actor, that would be a great one. And then honestly, them two would be the main ones.
Lead actor.
No, I'm talking about
Isaiah Bradley. Isaiah. Okay, yeah. I think you should get a guest actor nomination for sure. yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I don't expect the. I was saying I don't expect the finale to be as good as episode 5. I think. I just can't see how they're gonna salvage the Flag Smashers storyline. To be honest, that one's been the weak point of the series for me. You know,
Yes.
I think the strong point has been, the Bucky and Sam, like, bromance, if you will, or bro hates.
Yeah.
Uh,
I feel like this Flag Smashers was kind of more formulaic.
Formulaic, yeah,
Formu-
yeah. It was to
Yeah,
give them something to fight.
yeah.
Yeah, but they weren't great villains. I
I
think,
think what ends up happening is they suffer on the limited episodes. They
yeah,
ended up suffering due to the limited
and
episodes because
having it be so short, right?
well, yeah, because in other shows, if it had been a 10 episode, it wouldn't have been shocking if they had literally dedicated one entire show to their story, like
Hmm.
one entire episode to finding out their backstory, going through that story, whatever, something like just something to give you an idea of all those characters to
Yeah,
let you understand them a little bit more. They couldn't, so it ends up suffering. So that's what ends up happening. It ended up
yeah. I
suffering a
feel
little
like
bit.
Marvel. I mean, I guess we've only really had two shows, but I feel like they seem to want to stay away from touching on things happening during that 5 year time jump in Endgame, right? Like they will show you stuff that happens right when the blip ended, or like. But as far as like stuff that happened during that 5 year span, they seem to want to avoid that, and I'm not sure why.
Probably for some reason I have a feeling that might be touched during Doctor Strange in the multi-universe. Maybe
Maybe,
because remember he
maybe,
can go back in time, so he could go to that time and check it out, see what's going on and all that stuff. So
maybe, yeah.
maybe. So
Um,
we'll see.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, I don't know what else we can add to this. We're gonna do our. Hopefully, we'll be able to upload that in a timely manner. But we're gonna do our review of the season finale that's happening in 2 days, and I'm hoping that we're all happy at the end. John Walker gets a good final episode of the season that launches him off to whatever anti-hero stuff he's gonna do, and Yuri gets his apology. Any, anything to add?
Nah, man. I'm yeah, just can't. We'll see what happens, and then we'll see you guys on the next review.
All right, that's a wrap.